Hello and welcome to the Apps Associates webinar for Oracle ERP deployment in Europe. My name is Julian Troke and I'll be your host today. All attendees are on mute and we are recording this webinar, but if you'd like to ask a question, please use the WebEx chat window. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Christian Müller, who runs Apps Associates in Europe and is based in Germany. Christian, over to you.
Thank you very much, Julian, for the introductions. And good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I guess for most of you or all of you, it is in the morning. For me, it's the afternoon. I'm based out of Germany, Europe, as Julian mentioned already. And I do have over 24 years experience with ERP projects. I used to be an SAP consultant a long time back. In 2002, I moved to Oracle. I became the European IT manager of a US headquartered company. And my task, my project at this point of time was to roll out the Oracle e-business suite all over Europe, so altogether 14 countries. That took us with enhancements close to 4 years, so quite a long time. And it was quite a few enhancements afterwards once we implemented all the countries. And yeah, because it was that successful, Apps Associates and we decided to open up Apps Associates in Germany to penetrate the European market. Because I did the project with Apps Associates. Apps Associates got founded in 2002. At the same time I became the European IT manager, I was using Apps Associates for this European rollout. And yeah, it was a kind of next step to open up a European branch of Apps Associates out of Dortmund, Germany, in 2006. So I myself, I did really implementation. So I used to be an implementation consultant, so especially in the supply chain area. So I have lots of experience in the entire supply chain. I acted as a program and project manager. And yeah, meanwhile, as I'm heading the European operations, I'm a member of steering committees as well. So I have really hands-on experience as well as experience to handle and to deal with top management. And by the way, I guess I forgot my name at the very beginning. My name, Christian Müller. About Apps Associates. So we have just 30 minutes, so I want to keep it very short. As I mentioned already, founded in 2002. Meanwhile, above 850 associates, above 160 active customers, and our focus is really on Oracle and especially on Oracle business applications. So we have a long-term focus with our customers and with our associates. So we are proud that really 20% of our customers have more than 5 or 10 years relationships with us, and that's pretty much similar with our associates. So more than 160 associates are with us for 5 or 10 years. Again, I want to keep it short here. To the agenda. So today, in the 30 minutes, I want to talk about general European differences, so compared to the US. I want to talk about general European requirements, so what you need to consider when you implement an ERP system, whether it is on-premise or cloud-based. I will talk a little bit about Oracle global capabilities, about a couple of very specific European requirements. I want to give recommendations for European rollouts. And yeah, I want to talk about the capabilities which you need in order to successfully run a European rollout, and the customer cases. In the interest of time, they are part of this slide deck here, but I don't want to go through them. So again, lots of things to cover. Let's right away get into the slide deck. I'm pretty sure, in case you are thinking about a European rollout, you most likely raise these kind of questions to yourself. So what makes an Oracle implementation different in Europe? Why is it different to a US implementation? Can I copy the applications blueprint, what I developed in the US, to Europe and to my European affiliates? Can I manage such a project from the headquarters in the US, or do I need to fly consultants in for the project? And yeah, how should a successful European implementation strategy look like? And what do you need to consider upfront for a successful implementation? So I hope you will get some answers to these questions within the next 25 minutes. And I want to start right away with some specialities about Europe. Europe, as most likely you might know, is consisting out of, or the European community is consisting out of quite a few countries. So 28 member countries of the European community. When you look at entire Europe, well, we are talking about 46 countries with a population of 700 million. Lots of different languages, whereas the main languages are English, German, Dutch, French, Spanish. We even have Cyrillic countries, so countries who are using the Cyrillic character set. And what you need to consider, the level of English is quite different from country to country. There are countries where usually English is very well, like, for sure, UK and Ireland, but Nordics as well, the Benelux, and Germany, Austria, Switzerland. So that's something you have to consider, because there are really huge cultural and language differences within Europe. We got unified, meanwhile, 50 years back, but we are still working on really getting one unified European Union. So we are still on our way, and as you most likely all have heard, we have some challenges as well with the European Union. Like, for example, the UK decided to get off the European Union again. So we are still on a way to really build one European Union. What I want to stress is here really about mentality differences within the European community. So really, from country to country, usually people are quite different. So that is an assessment what I did, and I did an interview to multiple people how they think people from UK, from Germany, and from Netherlands would be, what their mentality would be, and you can see here that there's really quite different. So a German, for example, wants to plan very much in detail. He's spending 1-2 years to come up with a plan, and once the plan is done, you need to adjust it again because time changed, and you need to accordingly replan the plan. A Dutch guy, for example, is very consensus-driven, open-minded, flexible. So in all the countries, in all the member countries, you have a different culture and different mentality, and people differ. So when you are planning for such a European rollout, you really need to consider that within each country, people will behave different, and you should better know this so that you can act right away from the beginning in a way that the project will be successful. So I don't want to go in all the details here. You will get the slide deck later on after the WebEx, and you can really look much more into it. So now really let's get a little bit more specific. I want to talk now about general European requirements. So within the European community, we have legal and statutory requirements. We have a kind of European law, but in addition, we have country-specific legal and statutory requirements as well. And I will get into details about what it is a little later in a couple of slides. So we have various European tax rules. Each country has different tax rates, tax rules, and different amount of tax rates. I mentioned already language differences, and here really it is important again. So in quite a few southern European countries, on the shop floor, in case you want to implement an Oracle application on the shop floor, you can expect that really the people do not speak really that well English, or potentially not at all English. So all these kind of things you really need to consider. There are specific European reporting requirements, like for example intrastat reporting. I will have another slide about it. And European financial consolidation. In some countries you really need to report to the authorities in the local chart of accounts. So that's something you need to consider as well. Oracle is providing localizations for these European requirements and country-specific requirements, but you need to consider that the dynamics of the laws, they're quite high. So especially in the HR area, in countries like Germany, they're coming up with new rules related, for example, to expenses every year. And you just need to be flexible and ensure that you put a process in place, that you adjust your system in a way that the system will be able to handle this. Another sample for dynamics of local laws is the next bullet point, data protection laws. You might have heard about it, GDPR. that's a new law what is coming into place, or what will come into effective next month, May 25th, and it is about protecting personal data of citizens of the European community. So these are some very general requirements. Now let's get a little bit more specific on European requirements. So what is quite common is in Europe is a quite complex supply chain management, drop shipment, and intercompany setup. Because, large organizations are trying to save taxes for sure. So we implemented for quite a few clients already the so-called Swiss model, where the headquarter is located in either Switzerland or Netherlands, or perhaps Ireland as well, so the low tax countries, so that you try to really make the margin in the countries where you have to pay less taxes. So this requires quite extensive intercompany setup, e-business suite tax setup, and we did it quite a few times for our clients, and that's something what might come up in your project as well. So then it is quite common in Europe that we import from Far East or from the US, and lots of international clients they're trying to save custom duties. So it's quite common that we have non-bounded warehouses here in Europe, and you have to set up your applications a way that the application is able to handle this all. And we did it a bunch of times for our customers. We know how to do it. And that's definitely something what you should consider for you as well in order to save custom duties. GDPR, I talked already a little bit about it. General Data Protection Regulation will come into effect May 25th. There's a white paper from Oracle available which describes how Oracle is handling the GDPR requirements. So we can help with this as well. We are right now, as it is coming to effect in May, implementing it for various customers in Europe. So in addition, there are a couple of very specific requirements related to customer-facing documents, for example. On a German invoice, in case a VAT number is not in the system, stored in the system, you need to print special sentences on an invoice. So you need to come up with logic in your BI Publisher and invoice print process that the VAT number is getting validated, and in case there's no VAT number existing, you need to automatically print this text on the invoice. That's just one sample, and there are other samples for other customer and supplier facing documents as well. So documents in Europe, that's really a specific thing because typically the clients want to have it in various languages, and you really have to ensure that all the legal requirements are met related to specific information which needs to go on a customer or supplier facing document. So next slide, reporting requirements. So in Europe we have a couple of reporting requirements which we need to fulfill, like for example Intrastat reporting. Intrastat reporting is a report where all goods shipped between countries need to get reported to the authorities. So in the e-business suite, there is a so-called movement statistic available which handles the Intrastat reporting. But nevertheless, on top of this, you have to come up with a report which extracts the data in a proper format so that you can import this data to the authority website. And in each country, this format is slightly different. The good thing is we have these formats developed already for other clients, and thus the effort is much less for these kind of reports in case we would support you with a European rollout. Tax declaration reporting different in each country, so the tax rules are different, and thus the reporting needs to be different in each country as well. And the format is not harmonized as well. So in each country you can expect slightly different formats when you have to report tax as well as VAT to the government. Special formats on EDI. So in Europe it's quite common to use EDI, same like in the US, but you need to consider that we are using another format, EAN-COM format, and we are using it, similar like you, for purchase orders, sales orders, order confirmations. But again, it's another format, and in case you implemented already a kind of EDI converter, you need to ensure that this converter is able to handle EAN-COM as well. So third slide about specific EU requirements. So banking integration and electronic banking is very common in Europe. We are using electronic interfaces for the last 20, 30 years. So that's a definitely must for every European rollout. You need to ensure that the application will be capable to interface to the bank. And what is typical is, automatic direct debit notes to the bank, automatic payments to the bank, but as well bank statement uploads to logbook functionality, so that you really implement or interfaces the detailed bank statement information into the application in a way that receipts can get fully automatically applied against OpenAI. So there's some custom code available needed for this, but the good thing, we did this already for other clients, so we have this code in hand, and in case the volume of your payments is huge, or your receipts, that's definitely something what might be worth to think about. Good thing about banking integration is SEPA, Single European Payment Advice. That's meanwhile harmonized across Europe. A couple of years back, every country had really their own format, so that's a good thing. So on one of the first slides, you potentially saw that there's still quite a few currencies in Europe. So the Nordic countries, they still have their own currency. They did not move to the euro. United Kingdom still uses the British pound, and few of the new countries in Eastern Europe, they're still using their currency as well. So that's on a roadmap. It will change for these kind of countries going forward, but you need to ensure that you do set up multi-currency, and you should perhaps think about an exchange rate interface. European carrier integration, that's something. So Hermes, DHL, these are some typical European carriers which you need to integrate. Language support, that's an important thing. So reporting to the statutory or to the government in some countries needs to be in the local the local language. So in some countries you are really forced to set up your applications in the local country, in the local language, just so that you are in a situation to be able to report to the government. Another thing what you need to consider is in case you're planning to archive electronically. So means all the paper invoices, incoming invoices as well as outgoing invoices, in case you want to archive them electronically, and in case you want to scrap the paper invoices so that you don't need to store them somewhere, this server needs to be located in a member country of the European community. That's another thing what you need to consider. Now let's get to a couple of country-specific EU requirements. Italy, for example, as well as some other southern European countries like Spain and France as well, they have very specific requirements related to unique sequencing. So in old times, under 11i, Oracle 11i, we had to implement a special tool called Global Accounting Engine, or AX, in order to ensure that the system is able to handle this all. Luckily, meanwhile, in release 12 and in cloud applications as well, that's all handled by the standard. But that's something what you need to consider. In Germany, for example, you need to implement a solution for e-balance, so-called e-balance. So you have to provide your balance sheet in an electronic format to the authorities. So that's something what implemented Germany first, but sooner or later that will come in all other European countries as well. So that's something what you need to consider and should have in the back of your mind when you will roll out or are planning to roll out to Europe. I mentioned already the different chart of accounts. So some countries really you need to report in a local language, thus and in local chart of account. So you need to think about setting up dual posting and post into the corporate chart of account as well as a local chart of account, so that you can later on report to the local authorities. GDPDU. Grundsätze der deutschen Buchführung, so a pretty long name. That's a thing what Germany implemented. So you need to be able to extract the data out of the system, and that's the tax relevant data, in a way that an auditor can import this data into a system so that they can automate the audit process. So that's something what you need to plan for, that you will have a GDPDU interface available so that the auditor can do the job to audit the company. And a very important topic, HR protection laws. HR in Europe is very different from the US HR, so there are lots of protection laws in place, so it's tough to get rid of employees. These laws adjust pretty much every year, so that's something what you should better not underestimate and should really plan time for. So that was a kind of, in a rush way, a kind of things, or a couple of things you need to really consider. And that was a kind of checklist. So you would need to go much more into detail now in case you're planning for a rollout. So please use this list so that you don't forget anything. And now I want to get to some recommendations for your project. So from our experience, and we are doing this now for 10, 15 years, project marketing is the most important piece, what needs to begin right away from the beginning. So quite often, the US headquarters decided that the European subsidiaries have to use Oracle applications as their ERP system, and they really forget to get the buy-in from the European management. I have seen quite a few projects where lots of money was wasted because this important piece was forgotten. So change management right away from the beginning, get the EU management on board, get really the buy-in from the people, educate the European project members about the benefits of Oracle applications, because they are really once in a while quite reluctant in case they don't feel involved. So again, project management, one of the very key things. We took over a couple of projects which were initially handled by a few of the big implementation partners, and they failed. They burned quite some money. Then we took over, and first thing what we usually do is we really do an assessment about how are we looking from change management point of view. Is the European subsidiary really on board? Are they supportive with the project? And if that's not the case, really the management needs to get involved in order to ensure that we will get full support from the European subsidiaries. Process design, very important. So for sure, the interest of the US headquarters is to roll out a global footprint. But nevertheless, we have a couple of country-specific requirements, which I explained earlier, and they need to get met. And as part of change management, I would really strongly suggest to give the European management the feeling and the confirmation that really these kind of local requirements will get met and will get supported. And for this, it's important to run really gap analyzer at the very beginning with standard Oracle, but as well with consideration of the local requirements. Keep it simple and involves the key users for each country early, right away from the beginning. Again, project marketing. It's really, I can't stress this enough, change management project marketing is a key thing at the very beginning of the project. Project organization, very important in Europe, that such a project is business driven, not IT driven. So really the business needs to feel ownership of such a project, and they need to want really the project. Allow for changes in scope, in cost. So especially in scope, again, local requirements need to get met just from statutory and legal requirements. And again, ownership of the business executives, very, very important. One thing from project organization point of view is the time zone differences, right? So depending on what time zone you are in the US, it's 6 to 9 hours time zone difference. And there's not really a lot of time left on the day where the time overlaps. So that's something you need to plan around. It is very important that you get resources on board for your project which do have the local functional skills, who do know about the European requirements, who do know about the application, and who really give the European team the feeling that really there is a team who understands me, who understands about my requirements, and who is really supportive on my end. So that's very important in order to get the buy-in from the European team. On the rollout plan, that's something you need to really discuss at the beginning of the project. There are lots of dependencies and reasons for either a phased approach or big bang approach. So rollout plan, you need to really get into the detail as part of the beginning discussion of the project about how you want to do it and what kind of approach you want to do the rollout. So capabilities needed, I talked already a little bit about it. So it's really very important that you will get consultants on board who did this before, who have the proven experience with European rollouts, whether it is from the US consultants or consultants within Europe. So it's really key to success that you will have resources, implementation resources on board who did this before. They should be willing for sure to travel to Europe, because on-site time with a client, with the key users, that's very important. They should ideally speak the local language, and our consultants usually, they speak the local language, the European-based consultants. They need to be knowledgeable about the European laws, all the stuff what I talked about earlier. They need to be aware of the cultural differences. So the stuff I talked about at the very beginning. And they need to understand about the typical differences of doing business in Europe compared to the US. Customized reports and solutions for European requirements should be known as well, like custom duty reports, the VAT reports, all the stuff I was talking about, e-balance integration, all these kind of things. You should better really get resources on board who did it all before, because otherwise you really might see surprises later on in your project. So that's now, actually, let me check the time. It's 5:30 my time now, so I have now 3 customer cases, use cases, but in the interest of time, I don't want to go through the use cases now. But you will get the slide deck later on after the webinar, so feel free to go through this in the webinar, because here we have a couple of clients where we did a European rollout, and it is explained exactly what got done, what the problem was, what the solution was, how long it took, what the budget was, what the project team was looking like. All these kind of things you will see in the use cases. And in case you have questions to these use cases, I will be happy to take this offline, get on another call with you, and explain more about our project, what we did in the past. So that was lots of stuff within the last 25 minutes. I would really suggest keep this as a kind of work list, as a kind of list to ensure that you don't forget anything. And if you have any questions, I would open it now for questions. Julian, I'm not sure if you got any questions.
Well, thank you very much, Christian, and thank you everybody for joining. We didn't receive any questions today through the chat window. But as Christian said, you will be receiving a copy of the slides used in this presentation, and a few days after that, you'll receive a copy of the recording. So Christian's showing his email address and his phone number there if you want to reach out directly to him, or you can respond directly to the email when we send out the slides. So thank you very much for your time, everyone, and this concludes our WebEx for today. Thank you.